on July 3, 2011. Lauren was born on April 1, 1993, in Boston, Massachusetts, to Mary Kay Dunn and Malcolm L. Astley. From the very beginning, Lauren's life was filled with love and promise. She grew up in Wayland, where she became a lifelong resident, deeply embedded in the fabric of her community. Lauren's childhood was one marked by a rich tapestry of experiences. She was a passionate and accomplished tennis player, spending countless hours honing her skills on the court. But Lauren was more than just an athlete. She had a love for the arts as well. She was a proud member of the Muses, an a cappella singing group at Wayland High School, where her voice blended seamlessly with those of her peers. Music was a vital part of Lauren's life, and she also studied the French horn under the guidance of Pam Pikin, a local music teacher. Her dedication to the craft led her to perform with the Metro West Youth Symphony Orchestra. Summers for Lauren were spent at the YMCA Camp Nellie Huckins in Freedom, New Hampshire, where she first attended as a camper and later returned as a counselor. The camp was a place of joy, growth, and lifelong friendships for Lauren, a sanctuary where she could be herself and inspire younger campers with her kindness and enthusiasm. In 2011, Lauren graduated from Wayland High School with the world at her feet. She had plans to attend Elon University in North Carolina, where she would continue her studies and make new memories. But those dreams were shattered in a moment of senseless violence. In 2006, Lauren took on a role that showcased her talent and determination. She excelled in the leading role in Annie at the Weston Friendly Society of the Performing Arts, a testament to her love for the stage and her ability to captivate an audience. Performing was a natural extension of Lauren's vibrant personality, and she poured her heart into every performance, leaving a lasting impression on those who saw her shine under the spotlight. But Lauren's interests extended far beyond the stage. She had a keen eye for fashion, a passion that led her to work at 344, a popular clothing store in Natick, Massachusetts. There, she not only developed her sense of style but also honed her skills in customer relations and sales. Lauren was known for her friendly demeanor and her ability to connect with customers, making them feel valued and understood. It was clear that she had a natural talent for understanding people's needs, a trait that would have undoubtedly served her well in any career path she chose. Lauren's life was also deeply rooted in her community and faith. As an active member of the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church of Wayland, she sang in the children's choir and was a vital part of the youth group. Her commitment to helping others extended beyond her local community. Lauren volunteered on several trips to New Orleans to aid in the rebuilding efforts following Hurricane Katrina. These experiences shaped her worldview, instilling in her a deep sense of empathy and a desire to make a positive impact wherever she went. And Lauren wasn't just creative and compassionate. She was also practical and capable. One of her many skills was driving a stick shift, a challenge that she embraced with the same enthusiasm she brought to every other aspect of her life. It's a small detail, but one that adds to the rich portrait of a young woman who was not only talented and kind, but also confident and self-reliant. In an article published by the Boston Globe on March 17, 2013, Lauren's friends shared the legacy she left behind, a legacy of friendship. To them, she was far more than a tragic headline. She was the fearless, sassy friend who would think nothing of putting just $5 worth of gas in her car so she could save her cash for a new pair of shoes or her favorite drink from Starbucks. This small act speaks volumes about Lauren's personality, her spontaneity, her love for the little joys in life, and her ability to make the most out of any situation. Lauren's friends remember her as someone who was smart, funny, and full of life. She was a talented singer with a voice that could captivate a room, and she was also fiercely loyal, qualities that made her not just a good friend, but the kind of friend everyone wished they had. Her laugh was infectious, her spirit uncontainable, and her friendship was a gift to those lucky enough to be in her circle. On July 3, 2011, Lauren's life was taken by her former boyfriend, a young man she had once trusted and cared for. The details of that day are harrowing, a stark reminder of how love can sometimes turn into something dark and destructive. The story of Nathaniel is complex, filled with contradictions that make it difficult to comprehend how a seemingly good-hearted young man could commit such an unimaginable act. Nathaniel was the oldest child of Beth and Tomo Fujita. His father, Tomo, is a well-known guitarist and a professor at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, a man deeply connected to the world of music, much like Lauren. Nathaniel grew up in a home where creativity and discipline were valued, and his family was an integral part of his life. Nathaniel Fujita was, by many accounts, a good guy. These were the impressions Nathaniel left on those around him: friendly, kind, but also a bit reserved. Nathaniel wasn't someone who often expressed himself through words. Instead, he let his actions speak for him, particularly on the football field. As a star wide receiver for Wayland High School, Nathaniel did most of his talking through his athletic prowess. He was a good athlete, fast, tall, coordinated. On the field, Nathaniel stood out. His speed, agility, and skill made him a key player on the team, earning him respect and admiration from his peers. In 2008, Lauren Astley began dating Nathaniel Fujita, a fellow classmate at Wayland High School. Theirs was a relationship that blossomed in the familiar hallways of their school, where they shared classes, friends, and experiences that would shape their high school years. Lauren Astley became a significant presence in the Fujita household. Lauren became, pretty much, a member of the family, said George Mattingly, Nathaniel's uncle. She was at the Fujita home quite a bit. She was a big part of Nathaniel's life. For Lauren, Nathaniel was her first real love, the first person she shared her heart with in that special way that only a first serious relationship can bring. It was a significant chapter in her life, filled with the excitement and intensity of young love. They were both young, navigating the complexities of their emotions and their growing attachment to one another. To those who knew them, Lauren and Nathaniel seemed like any other high school couple, enjoying the ups and downs of teenage romance. They attended school events together, supported each other's activities, and spent time with mutual friends. Lauren, with her outgoing and spirited personality, and Nathaniel, with his quiet and reserved demeanor, appeared to complement each other, balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses. But as time went on, what once seemed like a stable relationship began to unravel. The 3-year relationship between Lauren and Nathaniel became a roller coaster ride of intense emotions, marked by frequent and escalating conflicts. They started getting so chronically into fights, Mary Dunn, Lauren's mother, explained. The pattern became familiar to those around them. They would break up, only to get back together shortly after, caught in a cycle of reconciliation and conflict that neither seemed able to escape. The volatility of their relationship became more pronounced as they approached their senior year of high school, a time that should have been filled with excitement for the future but was instead overshadowed by their turbulent relationship. Everything came to a head in the spring of their senior year, on Lauren's 18th birthday. After years of ups and downs, Lauren made a decisive move. She broke up with Nathaniel for good. It was a moment that marked the end of their relationship and the beginning of what Lauren hoped would be a new chapter in her life. I think with what was the final breakup, she felt some relief, Dunn reflected. Life was somehow opening up along with college. Lauren was ready to move forward, to embrace the opportunities that awaited her as she prepared to leave for Elon University in the fall. The decision to end her relationship with Nathaniel was not just about breaking free from the cycle of conflict, but also about reclaiming her sense of self and her future. For Lauren, the breakup symbolized a chance to start fresh, to pursue her dreams without the weight of a troubled relationship holding her back. For Nathaniel, the end of their relationship was not just a breakup. It was a profound loss. That was not so good for him. He was sad about it. He felt a sense of loss, a close friend observed. What should have been a time of celebration and excitement for Nathaniel turned into a period of emotional turmoil. He had been recruited to play football at Trinity College in Connecticut, a dream come true for any young athlete. Yet, despite this achievement, something was clearly wrong. I said, "Well, man, you're going to Trinity to play football, aren't you excited?" And he was just kind of deadpan. Not to become animated about football. It was just not the same kid, recalled a friend. Nathaniel's passion, his drive, everything that had once made him who he was, seemed to have drained away. His friends noticed the change, but no one could have predicted how deeply the breakup had affected him. In the last couple years of high school, it was amazing how close we were. It was a tangible bond, Genevieve said. But that bond, once a source of strength, now seemed to weigh Nathaniel down, leaving him lost and directionless. As graduation approached, Lauren and her friends, Hannah and Chloe, decided to throw a big party to celebrate their achievements and the end of an era. About 150 classmates gathered under a huge tent, dancing, laughing, and enjoying the night. Among them was Nathaniel, Lauren's ex-boyfriend. Lauren didn't want to talk to Nate at the graduation party, Chloe recalled. For Lauren, the night was meant to be a celebration of new beginnings, a time to enjoy the company of friends before they all went their separate ways. But Nathaniel had other ideas. And at one point, I remember looking over and seeing Nate sort of going up to her and saying, "Talk to me." Sort of normal drunk guy, like, blah, 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 Hannah said. And she was sort of just like, "Get away from me." Like, "Get away from me, Nate." It was clear that Nathaniel was struggling to accept the reality of their breakup. Lauren's rejection, combined with the celebratory atmosphere of the night, seemed to push him further into a state of frustration and anger. She came to me, crying, and said, "He will not leave me alone. He's harassing me. He doesn't want me to dance with anybody," Lauren's mother, Mary Dunn, recalled. The situation escalated quickly. And at that point, he just looked really angry and walked over and sort of punched his fist into one of the poles that was holding the tent up, Hannah continued. The force of Nathaniel's punch caused the tent to collapse, sending partygoers scrambling to hold it up. On July 3, 2011, Massachusetts State Police investigator Tony DeLucia arrived at a scene that would haunt him for years to come. The body was in the water about 30 feet off the roadway, he recalled. Lauren Astley, just 18 years old, was found in a shallow marsh, her life cruelly cut short. I pulled back the dress from her throat. I saw a severe wound to her neck. As if the wound wasn't horrific enough, a bungee cord was tangled in her hair, a grim detail that hinted at the violence she had endured in her final moments. The news of Lauren's death sent shockwaves through her community, and those who knew her struggled to comprehend the brutal reality. Nate is definitely not involved in this, Lauren's friend Chloe Jacques remembered thinking upon hearing the news. Nate would never do something like this to Lauren. Like, that is absurd. For those who knew Nathaniel Fujita, the idea that he could be responsible for such a heinous act seemed impossible. But as the investigation unfolded, the initial disbelief began to waver. Later that night, after Lauren was reported missing, police officers spoke with Nathaniel and his mother, Beth Fujita, 3 times. Each time, they told essentially the same story. Nathaniel had been home alone when Lauren stopped by for just 5 minutes, but she never got out of her car. The story seemed plausible, even routine, and the authorities initially had no reason to doubt it. "We wanted to know the comings and goings of Lauren and Nathaniel in the days and weeks prior to this event happening," said investigator DeLucia. As the investigators dug deeper, they began to piece together a troubling picture of Nathaniel's behavior leading up to the murder. Friends and family described a noticeable change in the once active and sociable teenager. Well, he had gone from a kid who was always on the move, always working out, to a kid who was basically at home, lying on the couch, looking miserable. Nathaniel's uncle, George Mattingly, explained. Nathaniel had withdrawn from his friends, becoming increasingly isolated. His once promising future seemed to be slipping away, and those around him noticed his downward spiral. He was drinking heavily and smoking pot daily, behaviors that were far removed from the Nathaniel his friends and family once knew. Even though Lauren had broken up with Nathaniel a few months earlier, she still cared about his well-being. Her friend Genevieve remembered how Lauren would express concern for him. She would say "Do you think I should do something? Do you think I should talk to him? Maybe I should try and help him," she recalled. Lauren's empathetic nature led her to worry about Nathaniel, even after their relationship had ended. Nathaniel's mother, Beth, shared Lauren's concerns. So worried was she about her son's state of mind that she took him to see a psychiatrist. Beth even reached out to Lauren, hoping that her son's ex-girlfriend might be able to help. Nate's mom came and visited Lauren at work and asked if it would be a good idea if she reached out to him and talked to him and kind of saw what was going on, Chloe recounted. It was July 3rd, 2011. Lauren Astley began what would be the last day of her life, heading to her job at the local mall. Surveillance footage captured Lauren at 9:45 a.m., riding the escalator up to work, just like any other day. But this day would be different. That evening, at 6:45 p.m., another camera captured Lauren leaving the mall, phone in hand. She was speaking with Nathaniel Fujita, her ex-boyfriend. It was their last conversation. She told no one where she was going that night. Not her friends, not her parents. No one knew. Lauren's friends always knew where everyone was. But that night, she kept her plans secret. She was headed to Nathaniel's house, where his parents weren't home. A text message to Nathaniel simply read, "Here," sent at 7:05 p.m. It was the last message Lauren would ever send. The next morning, detectives Tony DeLucia and Jamie Berger arrived at the Fujita home. Nathaniel wasn't there, but his father, Tomo Fujita, answered the door. With Nathaniel missing, the detectives obtained a search warrant for the house. Detective DeLucia stated that we started in the garage because there appeared to be a stain on the floor. It tested positive for blood. Host. The stain wasn't the only thing they found. In the garage and throughout the house, investigators uncovered bungee cords, blood-soaked sneakers hidden in a black gym bag, and more bloodied clothing stuffed into a crawl space. When we found those items, we knew we had enough to arrest Nathaniel Fujita, said Detective DeLucia. After searching all day, police finally tracked Nathaniel down at his cousin's home in a nearby town. He was arrested in the early hours of July 5th, charged with murder. The crime lab determined that the blood found in Nathaniel's home belonged to Lauren. As investigators pieced together the timeline, the horrific details of that night emerged. Nathaniel, alone at home, had lured Lauren to his house. What happened next was an act of savage violence. He murdered her in the garage, drove her Jeep to a nearby beach, dumped her keys in a storm drain, and ran home. Then, he took her body to a secluded marsh and tried to conceal it in the water. After hiding her body, Nathaniel returned home, cleaned up, and tried to cover his tracks. It all happened within an hour. On February 13, 2013, a year and a half after Lauren's murder, Nathaniel Fujita's trial began. The courtroom was tense, filled with friends and family members who were grappling with the unimaginable. How did the young man they once knew so well turn into a killer? The why and how were questions that haunted everyone. How could a young man, with no prior history of violence, commit such a brutal act? Medical examiner Henry Niels provided the chilling details of Lauren's final moments. She died as a result of the combination of strangulation and the incised wounds to her neck. Nathaniels testified that Lauren was first strangled with a bungee cord, then suffered a series of superficial wounds before her throat was cut. Nathaniel Fujita's mental state was a focal point in his defense. His mother, Beth, had noticed her son's troubling behavior long before the fateful night of July 3, 2011. Despite her efforts to get him help, it seemed Nathaniel was slipping through the cracks. Beth's concern led her to persuade Nathaniel to see a psychiatrist who diagnosed him with major clinical depression, a condition far more severe than typical feelings of sadness. Despite the diagnosis, Nathaniel refused both medication and therapy, retreating further into isolation as the summer progressed. His friends noticed the change, and Lauren, still caring deeply for him, grew worried. It was this concern that led Lauren to Nathaniel's home on the night she was killed, a night that would end in unimaginable tragedy. The defense argued that what happened in that garage was not a premeditated murder, but the result of a temporary psychotic episode. This was the foundation of Nathaniel's insanity defense. Dr. Wade Myers, a psychiatrist who evaluated Nathaniel after the murder, testified to the court about Nathaniel's mental state during the crime. The jury's deliberation lasted just one day. The verdict: guilty of murder in the first degree with deliberate premeditation and with extreme atrocity or cruelty. The room was thick with emotion as the reality of the verdict sank in. Nathaniel Fujita was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a harsh reality for his family, who continued to believe that mental illness was at the root of his actions.